Okay, man. I just felt like I just took like a course with the Holy Spirit on forgiveness. I recorded these little video journals of a whole timeline that took place, isolated each offense that I had throughout that timeline from my perspective, and then recorded another video of those offenses, which was so scary. And then I felt like I didn't know what to do from there, but I knew I was going to be forgiving. I knew that I was going to be forgiving. So I had a list of things I needed to forgive, and I'm like, how do I do it, Lord? And I felt like I started writing that piece of paper, which I ripped and threw on the floor, but I started to try to solve, the thing and to figure out the justification for why that thing would be forgiven, like the logical understanding, right? Like, I should forgive them because they actually felt this way, kind of thing, which is actually a broken system, because we should be forgiving people whether or not they deserve it. So that's not the right perspective. Anyways, so I felt like God was led me away from that, and then led me into writing this list, which just okay, so this is basically, so Hebrews 11:22 is this thing where it says that Joseph remembered the Exodus. It says that faith opened Joseph's eyes to see the future, and he remembered the Exodus, which hadn't even happened yet. And I believe the way that faith does that, is because in Hebrews 10, the writer of Hebrews quotes Habakkuk 2:4, which says, "My righteous will live from my faithfulness." Right? So now, when Joseph is living from God's faithfulness, he's able to understand the sort of thing that he would do. The sort of thing that he would do. And that becomes a forward prophecy, a constructive prophecy. That you can see God's intentions and the way that he is, and you start to prophesy based off of what he's like, based off of what God's like. Because what he's like is the most powerful force in all of existence. And he has the final say. So what he wants and what he's like is the most probable reality, because he's the most powerful force. So then I started writing these statements of a constructive force for every one of the things. I was listening to myself. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. I was listening to myself say these things that I had an offense against somebody. As I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, because it's so packed with demonic momentum and strategy and whatever. But as I'm listening, I felt like I was invited for the Holy Spirit to be like, okay, what's actually going on inside that person's heart? But then don't just write that. Actually, from the perspective of seeing what's actually going on in that person's heart who offended you, write the better word. So once you see that thing, write something that I would do to solve that problem. Write something that I would do to remedy and meet them in that. And that's where the power came. So then I started writing these this person is going to really receive grace from the Lord that gives them the safety in their heart to give grace to others, that type of thing. And it was just these prophetic things that were pinpointed based off of my offenses. So now my offenses become the roadmap of my blessings. Bless those who persecute you and despitefully use you. Now you're using those persecutions and despiteful uses as the roadmap for blessing. It's awesome. And so then there's some revelation that came out here that I wrote down. When you fight for someone's freedom, which is what this is. Now I'm fighting for their freedom. When you fight for someone's freedom, you instinctively unlock every shackle of your own unforgiveness. You instinctively drop your own offenses. Because you're fighting for their freedom. So you naturally are going to be like, well, if I have, no, I would never hold on to that. I just want to see you run. And that just becomes instinctive. That was awesome. So when you fight for someone's freedom, you instinctively unlock every shackle of your own unforgiveness. And then the other thing was, forgiving is actually unpreparing your defense and trading it for Jesus, trading it for his defense of you. He's our advocate. He stands beside us. It says, don't even prepare your case if you go out into court. It says the Holy Spirit will tell you. And that's why we're giving up our right to be offended. We're giving up our record of wrongs. We're unpreparing ourselves for the courtroom. And in doing so, we are trading our defense for his defense. And he defends us. And he defends us on the basis of the way that he forgave us. Because now we've forgiven others as he forgave us. And now our defense is on the basis of his victory. And now we are stepping in to the way that he forgave us. And we receive the blessing of the way that he forgives. And now he's fighting for us based off of his victory, as we're fighting for them based off of his victory, instinctively unshackling our every offense, unpreparing ourselves, making ourselves their advocate for their freedom. And I've never felt more free and excited, and like I understand how to forgive for stuff, because I want to forgive. I understand, because God was showing me. He was showing me. He's like, I love to use what's there. I'm reconciling all things unto myself. I'm healing these things. I'm working in these situations in ways that you don't understand. And I'm greater, and I have a greater vantage point, and I have the final say, and I have all this ability and power and authority, and I sit at the highest place. I'm not lacking in skill. I have way more skill than what you can imagine. So if you're trying to imagine based off of your own skill level or your own perception of what's possible, I have more than that even. I have a lot more. And so now you hold on to these things in unforgiveness, saying, no, I'm not going to let go of this thing. So even though he's reconciling all things unto himself, I'm actually holding on to that thing. And I'm like, no, not this. I can't imagine this being better. I can't imagine ever getting along with that person. I can't imagine ever being able to do that. I can't imagine. And that's kind of like inner vows. But unforgiveness is an inner vow. Inner vows are more broad than just unforgiveness. But unforgiveness is an inner vow. But when you let go of that thing, how fast you see the redemption, how fast you see the healing, how fast you know the truth, and it's unto the salvation of your soul, your brain box. I feel so free right now, and it's because of letting go into the hands of the one who can work with that. Like Julia says, God looks at your problem and he goes, I can work with that. Because he's so good and genius. So, okay, I feel really good. I feel like I got some really good revelation on forgiveness, and I'm so stinking excited about it. So I'm going to just go show Julia. Bye.